Hello and welcome to Politics Hub. I am Precious Chukudi, and joining me today is the Social Democratic Party presidential candidate, Prince Adewole Adebayo. It's good to have you join me today.
It's a pleasure, Precious. Good to see you.
Yes, and of course, the elections are just some days away right now, and everybody's campaigning left, right, and center, looking for what political candidates they want to vote for, basically. And you are coming for the SDP party, but the question is, why exactly do you want to be president?
To solve the problems on ground,
Okay.
and nobody should want to be president for the sake of being president. You want to be president to solve the problems of the day and to envision problems of tomorrow and find solutions to them, and also to take the country on a trajectory that helps it to fulfill both the destiny of the country and the hopes and aspirations of the people of that country. So if you look at Nigeria today, you know that there's no way we can escape uh, without paying attention to the issue of poverty. Poverty in Nigeria is no longer a theoretical or academic concept. It's something that drives uh, everybody nuts. Because if you look at the whole country, everybody is traumatized by poverty. Now, the numbers that are coming in are quite alarming. If you are 210 million and you have 133 million in severe poverty, I'm not talking of everybody who has a problem. Those who are in severe, extreme poverty, 133 million. And then the rest are in one situation or the other where they can't fulfill their potential. Uh, Among those who are in severe poverty does not include those who are working and the pay is not enough, who can't meet their rents, who can pay their children's school fees. I'm talking of those who are in a situation where they go to the dustbin to eat, a situation where they are one illness away from disaster, a situation where they have a lot of kids who are of school age and they can't keep them in school. So this is the scenario in which the country hasn't found itself like that before. And 30 years ago, the Social Democratic Party had MK Abiola, and we ran on the mantra and slogan of farewell to poverty. At that time, we never thought the country would be this poor. The idea was that we were poor relative to other wealthy nations. But now we are poor relative to the basic need for you to be a human being. Then additional problem we have is insecurity. And this implicates both public safety and the idea of the territorial integrity of Nigeria itself be under question. Where there are places where the Nigerian army, the Nigerian police, Nigerian armed forces and security agencies can't guarantee that they themselves can pass through. It also implicates uh, attacks at persons. We're looking at a situation where crime against persons is increasing, where kidnapping, mugging, all sorts of um, abuses of human being, cannibalism, all sorts of things happening within our territory. Then we have insecurity of everything that matters to somebody. So those who have jobs insecurity. Those who have property assets have a sense of insecurity. Those who are traveling from one part of the country to the other, despite all the prayers and administration, don't have a feeling that they can get to the other end where they are going. So this general problem is also affecting the ability of institutions in government to function properly. So that is what will make you want to be president at this point. If you don't have a solution to each of these problems, there's no point to come out. And that's why we are out and saying to Nigerian people, those who are in the habit of running for offices, they go from one office to the other. They are not asking themselves, what will I do when I get to this office? They're just running because politics is their career. And if there's any vacancy, they will say, I want the job. But they can't do the job because they haven't done the job which they held before. And those people whom they brought in the previous elections, whom they assisted together, they also are not doing the job. So we can know for sure that these people whom you are familiar with are not going to solve these problems because they don't understand the essence of what a government is all about, the priorities of government, the attitude you have in government, the amount of knowledge and familiarity with the issues that you need to have, and the graphs of solutions. They don't have any of that. They just know I'm a politician. My friend has been president before. It's my turn now. Let me be president too. I was a governor before. Even though I didn't do too well, I need to be promoted because those who were my rank when we were governors, each one has gone to the Senate, gone everywhere. So this is how they just look at it. So it's like people who are in public service. They don't. I'm an assistant director. In 4 years, I should be a deputy director. Whether they did well or not, they don't think it matters. They just think it's promotion. That's how politicians are taking it now.
All right, what are your personal achievements that makes you feel that you're the best man to rule the country?
I don't know about personal achievement. I don't think it's my personal achievement, but I'm a well fulfilled person, and you can check my biography. Everything which a successful person needs to do, I've done. So I've been thoroughly well educated, both home and abroad. I've reached the peak of my profession as a lawyer. I've run, I've established institutions in business, in finance, in agriculture, in media, in pharmaceutical, in different things. I've served on board of well-respected institutions, both home and abroad. So I have a profile, as you can see. But it is not that I'm the only person in Nigeria who has such. There are those who are of my age or younger than me who have achieved a lot of things. It is about the fact that the problems on ground, there's nobody who can say, with due respect, that he can face me and let us analyze solution to the problem of this country. Uh, so it's just like you're trying to drive your car in a storm. You're not looking for somebody who has the best cars and 50 cars in their garage. You know somebody who knows how to drive well. That's what you need. So if it's just about what I've achieved, a lot of people have achieved, even in my family. I'm not the person who has achieved the most. I have siblings who have more money than me, who are more educated than me. Even my wife is smarter than me academically. But the issue is that what are the problems we're facing today? Are you able to identify them? Do you have the skill set? Can you be asked, how do you eradicate poverty in Nigeria? What's your plan? I don't think there's anybody who has a better plan than we do have. If it's to deal with insecurity, even the president who is there cannot say that his understanding of the issue is as sound as ours. When it comes to accountability, there are so many other things in terms of governance that we've pointed out in the country, and they become very clear. When they were stealing the crude oil and people did not know, and the government knew and kept quiet, it took people like us to bring out the information, the facts. So the most important thing is that it's not about me. It's about the problems on ground. If there is anyone who has the character, the competence, the commitment, the courage uh, to come and deal with these issues, more than us, the person should show up and let us debate it. So it's not about me asking to be rewarded for a good life or for my personal achievement. It's about me to be hired for the job on the ground now, which job requires you to understand it, to show that you have appropriate solutions that are practical and pragmatic, that are within reach, and that you have the courage to make a decision which others are running away from. That's what makes you to be a president of Nigeria. Nothing more.
All right, we know that insecurity is one, challenge that we're facing in the country. How do you intend to correct this?
Well, from the day I was born till now, every day the country is less secure than before. And to those who are older than me, they will tell you at the time in this country, nobody needed to have a fence. Most houses had no fence, even if you're a rich person. And I also remember when I was growing up in Ilupeju here in Lagos, and do my own city, very few houses had fences. People had low fences. It got to a stage where we had to be putting gates on streets. I knew around Ilupeju in Lagos when resident associations started building gates. And now it's got to a point where we have banditry, have kidnapping, we have terrorists. So I think the government hasn't paid attention to it. These are problems that can go away easily. The easiest way is to first ensure that those who come to be in charge of security don't see as a money making venture. That is the major problem that this administration and the one before it have been facing. Once you start making money from a problem, that problem will not go away. Because those who make money from it will continue to build the expectation that more money will come from it. Second, we need to have a police service that is independent of the government and that is professionally run. And you see, the police service also has to be reorganized in such a way that every community can have some autonomy over their policing. That way, you can reduce crime. But overall, we need to generally improve the situation in the country in terms of social welfare, in terms of creating a well pacified society, in which people are not struggling for basic needs. So the criminality of those who are in government is encouraging and being mirrored by those who are doing criminality on the street. So you need to have a system of government in which there's accountability, and that way you won't have a policeman who whose salary is not paid, whose salary is not sufficient, and who is out as a criminal. In this country today, and I say with every sense of responsibility, the average policeman that we see, and there are many good ones we don't see, but the average policeman that we see is officially a criminal. Because where a policeman collects bribe in the open is committing a crime, is breaching the law of the country. And this happens regularly. We're so numb to it. I don't know of any adult in Nigeria who will say, I have not seen a policeman in uniform collecting money from somebody. So if the symbol of your law and order is a criminal himself, then how do you now say you want to keep the country secure? Go to any country that is secure. You will be seen as a psychiatric patient if you try to walk up to a policeman and say, I want to bribe you. He will arrest you right there. And in this country before, when Oluwagunloye was Corps Marshal General of the road safety, if you try to go and bribe them, they will refer you to a hospital for mental examination. Why would you bribe me? If you've broken the law, you've broken the law. You can't do that. And it was in this country. So it's doable. Because Oluwagunloye now is the National Secretary of the SDP. So it is possible in this country to run. And I think at the beginning, same thing when Nuhu Ribadu was in the EFCC at the beginning, you try to go and bribe someone in EFCC, you're wasting your time. You probably will go to jail faster. But now I'm told that they also don't mind being bribed now. So it is this system is what we need to put in place. Institutions have to work. And once they work, because criminals are criminals because they are essentially lazy. They don't want to do anything too formalized, too difficult. So if you make crime difficult to commit and difficult to escape after committing, the criminals will just subpedal. If you can be behind your computer and rob a bank and there's no consequence, you will do it. But if you have to do 15 years of hard labor, they will say, no, I'm not doing it. So what is happening in Nigeria, why it looks like crime and insecurity are on the rise, is that there's no government in place that's able to checkmate. Fighting crime, fighting corruption is quite easy. It only requires three things. One, those who want to fight it must live by personal example. The criminal must look up to you like, this person is not one of us. I'm letting Nigerians understand that don't let it look like, oh, corruption, crime is a monster that cannot be. No. Any government that wants to live by personal example will frighten all the criminals first. Second, where you yourself are not profiting from the criminality. That is to say, those who are in government. Imagine a society in which there are thieves, and the thieves take part of what they steal and give to the police. The stealing will never end. But if they are not able to do that, then the end will come. Thirdly, where you service and professionalize law enforcement. Because in our time, when we become president, law enforcement will not depend. My minister has the same chance of being arrested like any other person on the street. Everybody who is in the government knows that if they commit 1% of the crime which someone on the street commits, they will go for it. So you will see that it is easier for a danfo driver to escape the law than for a minister to do so. So if a danfo driver beats the red light, he can get a fine, he can get a caution. But if a minister does it, he will lose his job, he will pay the fine. He may even go to prison with the option of fine because he needs to set an example. So we are doing opposite in Nigeria, and that's why criminality hasn't gone away. We need to do it the way it's supposed to be done. That the higher you are, the less likely for you to escape from the consequences of your action. But being a lower person can escape, but the higher you are. So if you are a minister, you should be able to go to jail because we are looking for 2,000 naira in the ministry and you can't account for it. So that is how other countries have managed to reduce insecurity and criminality.
All right, let's talk about the decay in the Nigeria education system. How do you intend to address it? We've been having ASU strike back to back. How do you intend to nip it in the bud?
Okay, let us balance two things. One, the decay in the educational system has three parts. One is the curriculum obsolescence, where even if ASU didn't go on strike, ASU is coming to work every day. What is being taught is not modern enough. So when I was at IFE, if you were studying physics and they were teaching you thermodynamics, your age mate or classmate who is schooling in Yale or Oxford, the thermodynamics teaching protocol changed like 2 decades. We haven't changed our own. So a lot of modernization is being done. Now, even as a US lawyer, I got a notice recently that we're even changing the curriculum in the US for teaching lawyers, that with the kind of examination that produce people like us in New York bar, California bar, and all the other bars that I passed, they are now reviewing them. That ours was too conceptual, too academic, too theoretical. So everybody is trying to improve their curriculum all the time. Second is the stability and integrity of the calendar. And that is where a 4-year course is a 4-year course. A 13-week semester is a 13-week semester. And a 4-point course is a 4-point course. So you keep that calendar correct. The third is the issue of remuneration and incentivizing. So those are the 3 areas in which, if you attack them, ASU strike is not a problem. ASU strike is a symptom, because ASU members have 2 options: to be teaching nonsense every day and produce graduates that are being cheated. Because if you give me a Bachelor of Science in chemistry and I cannot titrate, I can't even remember all the periodic table, I cannot do any simple experiment. But you give me a Bachelor of Science in chemistry, you have cheated me mightily. So ASU, if it doesn't have a laboratory, it doesn't have all these other tools, doesn't even have a Bunsen burner, they're using stove, we cannot give it the accurate temperature. So why am I teaching nonsense? So they are coming out as a symptom to raise an alarm. It's like a chef who is in the kitchen, who is shouting, there's no food stuff in the kitchen. You cannot say that chef is disturbing the kitchen. Even if it was quiet, it won't produce food because there's no food stuff in the kitchen. So What we need to do is to make sure that, one, we go back to chapter 2 of our constitution, which makes education mandatory. And it's the function of government. Security, education, healthcare, housing, basic infrastructure, and doing of justice. Those are the duties of government. They are not manifesto of a political party. They are in the Constitution, Chapter 2, Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principles of State Policy. That's what, if you want to call yourself a government in Nigeria, that's what you will do. And if I'm elected president, like all the other presidents, Buhari, Goodluck Jonathan, Yar'Adua, Obasanjo, even Shagari, before them, you must take an oath that expressly says that you would observe and execute Chapter 2 of the Constitution, Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principles. It's part of the oath of office. And if you look at what is contained, everybody should know that if you follow it, many of these problems will go away. So basically, education is one of them. And what you need to do is to make sure you do adequate investment in education. You give academic freedom to the universities, even if they are owned by government. Set up a governing council of people who are academically inclined, who are charitably inclined, and who are public spirited. Don't use it to settle failed politicians and people who want to do favor. Then be a champion of the educational system. Give them their money. Like the Educational Trust Fund should be returned to independent trustees so that it moves away from Ministry of Education. So you leave the education like that, and you do champion. When I went in June, when I went to the US to meet the historical black colleges and universities, that's exactly what I discussed with them. You will send 2,000 professors to Nigeria to help me with my universities. You will give me my universities jointly audited courses, so that if somebody is studying aeronautics, University of Calabar, he can join University of Miami, Florida. He can join any of those universities, so that we can update the quality. So if I mark your paper, a lecturer or professor over there will also mark the same paper, so we can keep you up to date. And thirdly, to ensure that we actually pump a lot of resources into these universities. And then the general thing is that if you are a university teacher, you are supposed to be automatic upper middle class. So you shouldn't be struggling with things like, how do I feed my children? How do I have adequate housing? How do I have mobility? How do I have ability to travel across the world to learn? So it's just like being a newspaper editor-in-chief. You're supposed to be a very comfortable person, because your opinion writing, what you do in society, is very impactful. So you should be somebody who's struggling, looking for a politician to pay your rent. That way you cannot do your job independently. If there be a police commissioner and your salary is not enough to take care of 4 children, how do you expect you as a police commissioner to keep the country safe? So the same thing permeates. So we cannot afford to destroy our currency to the point where if you pay the salary of a professor, it's actually going to go straight into poverty. So those are the things we need to adjust, and the educational situation will improve. The talent is there. We have very brilliant students eager to learn, and we have built a basin of knowledge in the country. That when we started these universities that we had, Ibadan, Nsukka, Lagos, Ife, Zaria, we had less than 50 professors in the whole country. Now every street has a professor to their name. So we have more people we can use, we can retrain. We don't have a problem in that sector that cannot be solved by a serious-minded government.
All right, let's talk about the long few queues that we see around us, and what do you intend to do about it when you're elected as president?
You see, people, these are episodic problems, and each time they come up, people talk about them. But they're episodic. There are months on end where there's no fuel scarcity, and then there is but there are 3 areas we need to look at if you study very well. There is actual shortage sometimes, where, for example, you go to Atlas Cove and all the other points where they import petrol from, there's not enough supply. That happens sometimes, and I'll tell you why that happens. Sometimes it's logistical. You have enough fuel in the depots, but maybe the bridge broke somewhere, maybe there's flooding, Maybe the tanker unions have one problem. Maybe somebody annoyed them and they went on strike. Some logistic issue of carrying the fuel from one location to the other. That's the second. The third is when they want to adjust the pricing, either because the government people are not those who import the fuel for them have a lot of outstanding bills that they haven't paid them, and they want to put pressure. So they will say we're not supplying unless you pay us. Or government people themselves want to adjust the price, what they call subsidy. They want to adjust the price, and then they will artificially make it scarce. Thirdly, when these private refineries are coming up now, they are trying to commercialize the product and commoditize in such a way that if you have a refinery in Lagos, you want to sell in Nigeria the same price you will sell to somebody who is in Germany. So they're trying to create an objective environment in the country where the product will be scarce, and then you are ready to buy it at a price which will favor refinery owners. But the solution to these problems will be one, to have self-sufficiency in the petroleum product. And to do that, we have a 450,000 liters capacity, 450,000 barrels capacity in the refineries. We have 4 refineries. We have 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, and 1 in Kaduna. That's the publicly owned ones. And as they are now, we are spending a lot of money on them. So they're a cost center, they cost us money, but they don't produce anything. So they are not a profit center, they don't produce anything. Now, if we got them to produce, we will have maybe about 80%, if not 100% of what we need in the country. And some of the piping are quite old. If you go to our Shagamu, Jos, Jere in Abuja, many places where you have the refinery, we have these depots. The idea was that from the refineries you pump to the depot. Then the depot will use the pipeline to pass across. Some of the pipelines are rotten. So in the 70s, especially late 70s, from 1978, 79 up to 82, 84, there's something called bridging. So we're supposed to be temporary bridge, where if there's a pipeline breakage or there's a problem, you will use them to carry from one place to the other. Or at that time, places where pipeline had not reached. So if pipeline terminates in Jos, you can carry from Jos to Bauchi. But now, they carry all the way from Lagos, all the way to Maiduguri. So that has to stop. We have to get the piping done. The piping will take about 18 months if we invest well in the piping. So just like we're piping gas now. Then second solution I'm going to find is to take essentials off petrol. I can tell you, petrol is very expensive in London. But the population of Londoners who use petrol to go to work, less than 5%. Because all those red buses in London run on gas. And the train itself runs on gas. And some of it run on electricity, which is also powered by gas. So we have gas here. So what we can do is to make sure that if you are in the city of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Ondo, Abuja, major city, Kano, that we have public transportation that's independent of petrol. So Lagos is doing this, their blue line, whatever line, green line. If they succeed in doing that, that one doesn't use petrol. So those who travel by that will also have that reduction. So those are the things we can do to make sure that the average person is not relying on that. Then the third thing I will do is to make sure that if you are a student, you are a worker, you are an aged person, you are a disabled person, you have an access card. So if you are a public servant, why would you have to pay for transport to go to work? They should just be chargeable on your salary. So once you have your ID card, you should have a barcode that you can use to enter a bus and you go to work. So what the sum total of this is that essentially for people to move from place to place, they will be off petrol. And to tell you that it is doable, if you look at it now, all the food that you eat, most of them brought by trucks, all these trucks that you see. If you buy cement for construction, iron rod, they are bought by trucks. Those trucks don't use petrol, they use diesel. and diesel is not regulated, so and it's not subsidized. So the price has gone haywire. So if essential food, raw materials, other things you need to survive in society are already off petrol, all you need to do is just to take the passengers, majority of them off petrol. People will not be sensitive that much about the price of petrol, and government will not have an excuse to throw away good money to fraudsters and forgers in the name of saying we're subsidizing petrol. Those are the solutions that we have for it.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Prince Adewole Adebayo. He is the Social Democratic Party presidential candidate. Also, you can remember to follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, go to our website, www.vanguardnl.com. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you.